All right, welcome to the Sports Life Network, episode 8 of the Soccer Podcast. Today we're here with Seth, Nick, and Amir. Say hi, guys.
Hello.
Hello.
And me as well, Marcus. So we're just going to get right into it. We're talking about the Premier League. I want to start off with the United because I'm very pleased that we haven't lost in 14 games. We haven't talked about them at all really much during every podcast somehow. But in 14 games, we haven't lost. Bruno's addition obviously has been great. Pogba coming back from injury and linking up with Bruno. We've seen our first team, basically Martial and Rashford combine, almost like a York and Cole combination right now going on. Everything's looking good right now for United. What do you guys think?
Yeah, United have been putting it together. They can be a real interesting team next season. Bruno Fernandes, I just saw a stat right now, he has 13 games, 6 goals, 4 assists, which is amazing for a new player on a team as well. But in Sporting, had 130 games and 60-something goals, 50-something assists. He's just amazing. People are saying he's probably the best signing of the season. And he's definitely the best January transfer signing in a long, long time. I can't remember anything being like this. He completely transformed the team, I feel because now all of a sudden they're doing amazingly well. They just had that one draw against Spurs. And even then, that's not that bad a result. Other than that, it's been very good.
That was the first game of the restart too, so you can kind of give him.
Yeah, and De Gea kind of
Yeah, that was his first game back as well.
Mhm. But yeah, they're very, very good, very positive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, everyone's talking about next season. Next season really is it feels like we talk about that a lot with especially Pogba too. But obviously this season's basically lost completely to injury, so we're just kind of getting it back now.
Their front force is so entertaining. Greenwood, Martial, Rashford, Bruno, Pogba. Who else? Is there anyone else I'm missing?
No, but I mean we actually have okay squad depth. It kind of gets a little shaky sometimes.
Igalo is good.
I think the idea that the team has a backup striker now is very important because it was so under Mourinho, it was so important for Lukaku to score because it seemed like nobody else was going to score in that front line.
Yeah.
But now we can add goals from midfield. We have an 18-year-old player who's scoring goals. We have a winger who was a striker when he first came into the team, who is now a winger again in Rashford, who can score goals. And then we have a player who 5 years ago was just a promising teenager from Monaco and is now showing that if he can stay fit for an entire Premier League season, he can be a player who can approach 20 goals. And I don't think any United fan is going to want a player to come in and disrupt this front line right now unless it's Jadon Sancho. And the way this front line is looking right now, I don't think we need a player to come in and be a starter. We need players to add to the squad depth and make sure that this team is able to put away games against the lower half teams because that's what's cost United this year. They've relied on their starters to win games, and if they can't win a game against a lower half team in 70 minutes, if they can't put the game away in 70 minutes, they have Juan Mata, Andreas Pereira, and Jesse Lingard to come off the bench. None of those three who can really contribute goals anymore. We haven't seen Mata put
Lingard
10
has
goals
no
on the board.
Contributions.
We haven't seen Juan Mata put more than 10 goals in a season since the 14-15 season. Jesse Lingard has never scored more than 10 goals. And I don't think he's ever had more than 10 total goal contributions. And Andreas Pereira has played in so many different positions that I don't even know if he's an attacker. So I think rather than trying to spend so big and get Jadon Sancho, it would be smart after this pandemic year for United to sign players that are more like Dan James than Jadon Sancho.
Too.
Because Dan James was such a exciting player at the beginning of his career at United because he was scoring, but he also is infinitely important because he can come off the bench and he's a pressing forward. He can carry the ball. and he has pace, which you can't coach.
Mm-hmm.
Mata doesn't have pace. Jesse Lingard has lost some of his pace, and Andreas Pereira doesn't have pace. So if we're looking at trying to make this United team someone that's consistently, or a team that's consistently challenging for the UCL, I don't think Sancho is going to take us to the next level. It's going to be players on the bench who are better than the current crop of players we have. Because Phil Jones, Chris Smalling, Juan Mata aren't going to cut it anymore. They're just not.
Yeah, I mean, we're phasing out that era, too, of Smalling and Jones. Obviously, Jones – is Jones?
Young is finally gone. Young
obviously left. Smalling's on loan to Roma. Is Jones
Smalling,
still
I
on
think
the
Roma
squad?
will buy him.
Yeah, probably. Is Jones on loan, or is he still with us?
I think he's still in the squad.
Oh, wow, I haven't even seen him in a while. I think I saw that he played like a game a month, basically.
Well, I know he didn't get transferred, though. There's no way he's transferred.
Yeah.
He's not.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see, like you just said, Seth, if we'll get the squad.
I got a different take on this, actually.
Oh, no. You think they know what's it going to be?
Yeah. I mean, my opinion is that, if you look at the progression of the team, the defense has actually been quite good this season. Surprisingly, in terms of shots allowed and against expected goals, it's not that bad.
Even goals allowed, they're low.
Yeah,
we're pretty.
So I think you look at the Spurs game. That's a bit of a stinker for David De Gea. There was about, I believe it was a .08 xG chance from Steven Bergwijn. So De Gea should be saving that.
.08. Oh my God.
So you would expect him to save that, and that's a bit of an embarrassment. It was hit quite with a lot of pace, and that's one thing that upsets this. But I think I'm going to disagree a little bit with Seth on this. I still think that you want to spend on Jadon Sancho, because when a player of that caliber is available, and you are one of the very few teams in Europe that can get him, I think you want to get him. Because if you look at United and you look at the percentage of where their goals are coming from, a lot of them come from the left. It's a very disproportionate majority come from the left. That's because you got Rashford down the left. That's because you got Martial, who likes to go down the left and cut inside, and that inside channel there. And then that's what happens when you have a lot of right-footed players who like to cut and shoot from outside. Especially a player like Bruno he's actually decently two-footed, to be honest, but he prefers to shoot from the right. What we've seen over the week, over the course of the week, is Mason Greenwood come in and play very well, actually, coming in from the right and shooting with his left. And he's actually been incredible this season. I'm not even going to take it away from him. The question is consistency. Because he's massively overperformed his XG, can he keep that going? I think he can, because I think his ability to finish is actually quite good. I don't know if it's a hot run or if it's just he's really good finisher. It's hard to say right now, but I think he's just a good finisher. But I think you want because Sancho that's 30 goal contributions that you're just bringing in, and you can't shy away from that. I think you need that. I think you can leave the defense a little bit. If you want to bring in another center back, you definitely should, because Lindelof has been actually quite good. Maguire's been very good this season. Gets a lot of crap, but he's actually been very good. You definitely want to be sure about that left back position because it's unsure.
Are those their top two center backs?
Yeah, Lindelof and
Maguire.
Bailly, when he's come in since January, has actually been decent.
But he's not going to be a starter next
season. Definitely need a defensive midfielder. I still think they need another defensive midfielder, because
you don't think McTominay and Matic will cut it next season, really?
McTominay's a good
Pogba
squad player.
And Bruno.
They've been good. They've gotten better over the course of the season. I actually like McTominay a lot. He gets about 3 defensive actions out of him. But it's a question of, is he the type to stay disciplined and stay as that central midfielder? Because I've always kind of seen him as an 18th man in the squad, someone who can fill in a bunch of roles and not necessarily a consistent defensive midfielder. Because, you look at the goal contributions, and you can see that he plays high up the pitch. If he's a defensive midfielder, he's playing high up the pitch. Fred has been good, but he's not he's actually been really, really good this season, to be honest. But is he going to be consistent long term?
Right back is set, though. Wan-Bissaka.
Right back is set. Wan-Bissaka is fantastic. He's one of the reasons why the defense has been so good. the primary reason, actually.
And they have, I mean, if they want a backup, they have Dalot.
So, yeah, I think they do need to fill out the squad a little bit. I think
Like, they don't need to go for marquee signings that would like
I
sell.
think they do. I think they still need.
do?
We probably need like one or two. One or
The
two.
only
not-
marquee signing they need.
Nick,
Maybe
I'm
like
not
one
going to
or
disagree
two,
with you. I'm not going to disagree with you and say that Sancho is not the right player for United, because it seems as if he would perfectly fill in goal contributions from the right, which is what the team has lacked literally for so long. I honestly can't remember the last time United had a right-sided player who was actually effective at scoring and creating goals. I mean, there's a good reason why Antonio Valencia became a right back eventually.
Mhm.
And I just think if Sancho is worth so much, which newspapers have been saying United want him for 50 million, that's garbage.
Yeah,
They
Bruno
will
was
never,
like 35.
they will never be able to sign a player like Jadon Sancho for 50 million. That will never happen. So
They
what I'm
have to
saying,
put on the
if
table.
if United can't sign Sancho, there is nothing wrong with looking around for squad depth. That's what I'm saying. Jadon Sancho is one of my favorite players in the world. I would love to see him at United. I would love to see him at United. But I'm just saying, a player like Nemanja Matic setting up the Greenwood assist to Bruno in that game, that's something that no other player in our squad could do bar Pogba. So what I'm saying is McTominay does not have the technical ability that Matic does. Sure, he's way faster, so much younger, and way more mobile, but he is not as disciplined in his positioning and, in my opinion, as skilled as Matic is. Matic looks slow because he's a giant, but his actual technique on the ball is just as good as any of our other midfielders. So,
it's an age
how do we
profile thing
replace
for me,
that? I have no idea. I have no idea how to replace that. That's what I'm saying.
I think my concern there again is the age profile, because you look at the United team and it's like it's a side that's trying to be built for the next 3-4 years, and so it's how you and so that, like you were saying, with the shifting out of that era, Marcus, with the defenders, right, with the Smalling, the Jones, the
Ferguson team, basically.
Yeah. So this is a rebuild that should have happened 5 years ago, and it's starting to happen now, which is good. And the question is, who's that? Like, who are the final pieces to the puzzle?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I don't know. I think that there are probably some gambles that they could take, like low budget gambles, because I think next season they'll be probably in and around that Champions League position, and it's not going to be too much of a scrap for them. If you look at the likes of Arsenal and you look at the likes of Tottenham, that have a lot more work to do. So, I mean, there's nothing but positives for United right now.
Exactly. That's what I would say as well. There's nothing but positives to look at with the way the squad is playing right now.
Yeah,
we don't even have Fred isn't even in the picture, and we're still winning games. And he was our best midfielder 4 months ago.
Yeah, the first half of the season, basically. One thing, well, I mean, the thing that I think has made all the difference, and a lot of people haven't really talked about this as much, is that not only is the team playing well, but they're actually exciting to watch. You know
Definitely.
What I mean?
Yeah. That's what Bruno brings.
There have been times where the team is playing well and not been exciting to watch, particularly when you're under Mourinho and Bajal. But now I think this is a time where you want to watch United. You want to watch Bruno. You want to watch all these young players.
This wasn't the case
Rashford
before.
Can get going post pandemic. I mean, dang, they will be probably one of the most exciting teams in the league.
Yeah.
By a country mile.
Yeah, we're looking at top 4 next season for sure. Because, like you said, with the
Maybe
way
even the league,
Leicester.
why not go for the league?
Oh, yeah, I
don't know.
I don't know if we are.
There's still such a golden squad quality between Liverpool, City, and the rest of the league. The squad quality is so incredible. If City sign one more center back, they will be just as good as Liverpool.
Yeah, I think the difference too is United used to win leagues.
It has to be the right center back.
It's a really hard. It's a really difficult signing that.
Yeah, United used to win.
I don't think it's being talked about enough of how difficult that signing is.
Especially because they might not have Champions League.
Yep.
Yeah.
How do you lure a player who's of Champions League quality to a team that might not play Champions League? How do you find a center back that Pep likes that's also within financial fair play budget of what they've made? That's another interesting thing. And also, do you sign a player who's 28, 29, like Kalidou Koulibaly, or
Yeah, I
do
was
you
gonna
sign
say Koulibaly.
a little bit less proven and try and get like Deado Upamecano or
Who was
someone
the
like
ideal
that?
candidate?
It's just I think the season next year will entirely rely on how much the top 10 teams in the Premier League are going to be able to spend.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
Yeah, because of Corona.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean,
I wanted to talk a little bit about Chelsea because we're on the topic of rebuilding. Just because it just seems like with Ziyech and Timo Werner coming to Chelsea next year, like the attack will just look so nice. Pulisic has kind of started to show some class as well. Willian, did he agree to leave?
I think he's probably.
I don't think he's renewing his contract, so I don't think
he's probably headed for the
free
exit
agent.
door.
They might lose Willian and Pedro, but they'll replace them right away. So the attack in midfield looks great. It looks okay, at least. They have some depth there as well with younger players and Tomori and Zuma for defensive depth as well. But they really need to bring in, I guess, what you said, outside backs for sure.
goalie too. They might sign Onana.
Yeah, Kepa's. Yeah, you never know.
I think they've been looking at Onana. But yeah, they need a goalie. And then
I think they would do excellently to go to Ajax and pick up their starting left back and starting keeper, because I think
they're just gonna rob
honestly,
Ajax.
Tagliafico.
I don't know if Ajax will sell that many.
I mean, I don't know why you'd go from Champions League with Ajax to Champions League with Chelsea and be in a brand new team and ruin the chemistry that Ajax squad has. But if they're already getting Ziyech, that's an incredible link in Chelsea's team. If they can go and get Tagliafico and already have Ziyech in the team, those two are they're like bread and butter on the pitch. Like, they just connect in a way that I don't really see many players do it. And like Tagliafico, I'm just going to say it, is a major upgrade in every single way on Marcus Alonso. In every single way.
Yes. Personally, anything is an upgrade on Marcus Alonso.
Damn, dude. I like that.
I think Tagliafico might even be a couple years younger. Like,
they're pretty similar. I mean, Tagliafico's I think he's 26 now. Like, he's not.
Yeah, but I just don't think.
I mean, like, he is a decent candidate for that position. I'm not gonna argue that.
He doesn't have the name sort of attraction that Alex Telles is getting right now.
Yeah.
But I would say he's competing at a similar level to Alex Telles. He doesn't get as many goal contributions, but he is a really good defender for his size and is quick, just like Telles, and can also contribute offensively. And we've seen how good Tagliafico was in the Champions League. And yes, Ajax struggled in Europe this year, but like, I think now is the time to hit Ajax. If you're going to hit Ajax for any of those talented players, Onana, Tagliafico, Van de Beek, David Neres, any of those players, now is the time. Even Lisandro Martinez could.
As a side note, Sterling scored again, by the way, 4-0. But Ajax are also a selling club too. Like, they don't hold on to players that long.
Yeah,
I just think Chelsea right now lacks such a backline. Not a backline. They lack such a backbone. I don't know if signing Werner and Ziyech helps them have a backbone. Werner famously was subbed off in a Champions League group stage game against Besiktas because of crowd noise. These aren't exactly inspiring things that make you think you're bringing a leader into your team. Christian Pulisic looks like a leader, but he's also 21 years old. Azpilicueta
is captain of U.S. men's national team. Isn't he the captain?
Occasionally, yes. But Azpilicueta is a very experienced, very good Premier League player, an all-time legend of the Premier League. He's getting older. He's still contributing, but they need someone who's going to step up, preferably into their midfield or defense, and be a leader. And I don't think they have that right now.
Yeah, Rudiger, like a Jordan Henderson.
He's a talented center back with European experience, but I don't think he's a leader. Reece James is incredibly talented, incredibly exciting. Is he a leader? I don't think so. They need someone who's going to stop them when they're losing to West Ham or when they're tying West Ham and say, this is unacceptable for the stature of this club.
Yeah, you're saying like a Jordan Henderson kind of.
Exactly.
If that's going to do it. Honestly,
if that's even going to do it, even if I don't even think it's one player. I think it's like getting a defensive line that all.
They used to have it with John Terry for many, many years, but obviously when he left, they haven't replaced that.
And then they lost Lampard, and then they, Diego Costa kind of put some fire in their attacking line and gave them some steel. They lost Diego Costa; they don't have that steel anymore. Morata never possessed that steel. Even
I can say that like this season, like what they had going for them at the start was the fact that they had actually quite a good midfield, right?
Yeah.
And now, if you look at the layout of the Chelsea side now, that it kind of strikes me as similar to Liverpool a couple of years ago. I know that's a pretty big claim, but when you look in terms of like goal contributions, like Werner is just, he's insane.
Ziyech, 28 goals this season.
Ziyech is very, very, very good. So I think that they've kind of sorted out their forward line. If they really want to spend all that money on Kai Havertz, fine. I think that then they don't really need to add anything else to that midfield if they can keep N'Golo Kante fit, because fitness has been a massive issue for him this season, and it's the first time that he's ever actually experienced really injuries. But I think like what they're lacking is what you're saying, like a leader, but I think that it's in the back line, because you look at if you look at Liverpool a couple of years ago, what really changed it? Like Alisson was arguably one of the best players in Europe. But what really changed the dynamic of that side was bringing in Van Dijk. They had some decent defenders, like Joe Gomez was decent. Dejan Lovren excluded, like Joel Matip was
before Van Dijk was signed, Joe Gomez was kind of unheard of.
Yeah, no, he was an outside back.
He was okay. Like it wasn't like he was a good young player. And then you had Alexander Arnold, who was starting to come in, and Andy Robertson, who was starting to come in, and then you bring in Van Dijk, and he becomes that like mainstay, right? I think that's what Chelsea are lacking.
He boosts the players around him too.
Yeah, so you need that one defensive guy who he doesn't even need to be like, say, the best defender. It would be good if he was a good defender, but that guy who boosts players like Tomori and Rudiger, because you're right, Rudiger has always been a good center back. That's not an issue. It's the fact that he hasn't been like, if you look at Germany, he's not the main guy, shall we say, in that back line. Like Shula is.
Yeah, Shula is like
he's fit.
Yeah, exactly. If Shula was fit, I would say Chelsea should go for Nicolas Shula. He's like,
oh yeah, I would be.
He has everything. He has everything. But of course, Bayern aren't going to sell him, because why would any of these teams with a top young center back who's a leader part with that player? It doesn't make sense. Chelsea would have to pay so much money to get any of these young players. I don't even think someone like Juventus, who have had problems with getting the best out of Matthijs de Ligt, would ever sell Matthijs de Ligt. They spent so much on him.
He's been really good.
He has such a high ceiling. All he needs is someone next to him who's super
I think he's
solid.
Underrated this season.
Yeah, I think he's probably underrated. But
yeah, you guys are talking about leadership, and that could be also a quality that's just learned. Obviously, I don't know at Chelsea if there's anyone right now that if they were to buy someone or any young player that young player could learn leadership from. But I think about Henderson a lot, because Henderson, people kind of just like made fun of him so much, and like no one really thought he was up to it in like 2014, even before then, when he was trying to pick up after Gerrard. So obviously he got to learn after Gerrard, which obviously has helped them, today. So I don't know. You might see a player come in and then pick up some things, or like you said, just become a leader. So
yeah,
we'll see.
That could happen. I mean, like, it's a young squad, so decently young side, particularly in the attack. So that could happen. I mean, maybe Tammy steps up, maybe Tomori steps up, Pulisic. Like there are people who could. It's hard to pinpoint now, because
I don't know.
As you're saying, it could be a learned thing, because you look around Europe and it's very hard to find a player who can come in. I mean, immediately people always gravitate toward Koulibaly. I mean, I would look across the Italy and go for Romagnoli if I were them. But it's difficult to kind of find that quality. So
And teams wouldn't want to sell them anyway. Like
Napoli, because these are the guys that pick up their entire squad. So it's very hard.
Yeah, Napoli have rejected I think multiple offers for near 100 million euros for Koulibaly. I remember a few years ago.
I just think there's two players that, in my mind, could go into any of the sides I'm about to say and offer something that doesn't need to be taught to them, and that's leadership and charisma. And one of those players is Calvin Phillips, he's captained Leeds United. He's a hard, tough defensive midfielder who also has good technique. He's a championship player, yes, but him amongst other players have shown just how high the level of quality in the championship has risen. And another player who recently just captained his team for one of the first times is Declan Rice. And I think Declan Rice is incredibly useful because, yes, he needs to work on his passing. That's what everybody says about Declan Rice. He needs to work on his passing. He can play defensive midfield. He can play defensive midfield, and he can play center back. And that's two positions that Chelsea have no depth in. So it just seems like the perfect signing. If West Ham go down, one of these teams needs to take a chance on Declan Rice.
We saw yesterday. There's a chance that they being one of those players that might not go down. I mean,
exactly.
They displayed some quality yesterday. I know. I feel like people are going to disagree on that, but I mean that was a great game.
They were all right. Mikel Antonio.
Rice played so he was so
yesterday.
Brave in that game. I just think that's the trait you don't find very often, bravery and charisma in a defensive position in a young player. That just to me is hard to find, and I think Chelsea could do a whole lot worse than signing Declan Rice. Get another English player in there to get that sort of camaraderie with the other young English players in that team. You've got Tomori, Reece James, who have probably played with him at youth level. I know he represented Ireland for most of his career, but I just think Mason Mount would probably get along with him. Those types of players could come into that Chelsea team and add some steel and add some leadership. Mm-hmm. Whereas you look at a team like Arsenal and they need leadership in a bunch of positions. They need leaders in several positions. They lack the backbone that Chelsea lacks as well, but they don't have
they have good strikers.
They have good strikers, but they don't have
who need to be sold.
Who need to be sold, exactly. They don't have a good base of young players who are defensively minded. Arsenal have a bunch of base of youth players who are attack minded, but you can only play 3-4 attackers max. And where are the rest of those players going to go? They're going to sit on the bench. I just think I look at Arsenal and I look at Chelsea, and Arsenal have such a poor defense, but they have an old poor defense. Chelsea have a defense that has young players that's sometimes been poor that could get better, whereas Arsenal's defense is at its ceiling.
Yeah, David Luiz.
One more year, David Luiz
gone in the mud. They got a contract.
You can't blame him for that, though. You can't blame him for signing up for another year. They don't
for giving a Premier League center back who has quality on the ball another year. I don't think.
It's just because they need to fill out that squad because there's going to be. Personally, I think at Arsenal there needs to be a mass exodus. Whatever.
Bukayo Saka signed a new contract though. Bukayo Saka signed a new long-term contract.
Yeah, that was. He's
another youth player.
I like Saka. I rate him.
What is he like? He plays left back sometimes. Though, is he better as a winger?
I think he's better.
Why does he play left back? Why does he play left back?
Played left back because Tierney and Kolasinac were both injured.
Oh, okay.
He gets lots of goals.
Defensively, he wasn't that good. He wasn't that good. But going forward, he was great.
In Arsenal's last game, they played with 5 defenders. Kieran Tierney was the left wing back, and Kolasinac was the left center back, which I think could be an interesting.
That worked so well for him.
It's perfect for Kolasinac.
Yeah, Kolasinac can play center back.
He's physical. He has way more steel than Mustafi. I just think that's a smart move because then you can play Tierney as your left wing back, but you could also, if Aubameyang leaves, you could play Bukayo Saka as your left winger, and then you have someone who's going to contribute defensively on the left wing, but then you also have Kieran Tierney who's excellent going forward.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then Bellerin who's also excellent going forward.
And also he can defend Ozil from people trying to stab him. Kolasinac. Do you remember when that happened? When there was that video that came out?
break people's
He has that
Oh
Eastern
my
European
God.
steel.
That's a steal you were talking about.
No,
the
like
steal.
honestly, Kolasinac is a real hard man. Like there's
Yeah,
no getting
he's a
about
hard
around
man.
that.
He's a big
Like,
guy.
When that
definition
happened,
of a
like
hard
it was
man.
insane on social media. When that happened,
Yeah.
when he like
Wow.
defended Ozil with his bare hands, that was crazy.
Lad.
All right, so I wanted to finish up the Premier League with looking at the table because Nick made some absolutely shocking comments about Manchester United's placement. He put them as far as 7th at the end of the season. So looking at the top 4 now, we have Liverpool champions, City 2nd place, Leicester 55 points, so 11 points behind City. So basically, 1st and 2nd you consider decided, right? You don't think
Yes,
Leicester's
and Man
or
City
anyone's-
are getting this win right now too.
Yeah, they're beating Liverpool. So
Love to see it.
So what we're really debating right now is what we've been talking about for a while. It's basically 3rd through 9th. From the bottom, Arsenal and Tottenham are 9th and 8th. Do you guys think they'll break into the top 6? Either one of those teams?
Nah. I wanted to say
not into the top 6, but one of them could usurp Sheffield for 7th. If Sheffield,
and then
I mean they Sheffield did well today to beat Spurs, which is kind of a big statement, but I don't know.
Yeah. I still don't think either one of them will pass Sheffield. I just think Sheffield are too tough to beat sometimes. Like especially just now. There's only 6 games left we're talking about. But so then we move up to 6 and we have Wolves, who I think I was saying to Nick that they do have a kind of tough schedule left. They have Chelsea on the last day. They have Burnley, I think, away. They have Everton, Sheffield, and Arsenal.
Wolves?
3. Yeah,
Wolves they're getting like very lucky, like 1-goal wins though. They're like getting these are huge 3 points. Yeah. But I wanted to say, one thing that could be interesting though is that if Man City don't get the ban upheld, I think top 5 might wouldn't it pass down? I think the Champions League.
Yes, the 5th place team could always get Champions League. And that's
what I think is going to happen. That's why I'm saying
that would be very interesting. And I wanted to say, this top 4 race it's between Leicester, Chelsea, Man United, and Wolves. I think anything below that at this point, is no chance. Lowest chance probably Wolves, but
actually really quick too. The FA Cup is it's United, City, Chelsea, and Arsenal.
Wolves and Leicester are not in it. Yeah, it's all
exactly. So do you guys probably put City to win the City and Liverpool for the final?
Wait,
not
City
Liverpool. City and.
Just on merit of how well they've played since the restart, I would say it's going to be City or United to win that. But I would point out that City are probably going to be way more motivated to win that than any of the other teams because of how.
And with this huge win they're about to get.
Plus, they've already won the Carabao Cup. They could still win the Champions League. And then if you look at United could still win the Europa League and get into the Champions League that way. Wolves could still win the Europa League and get into the Champions League that way. There is a possibility that so many of the top 7 in England could end up in European competition. Basically,
Arsenal have the
final league table. Regardless of the final league table, you could see 5 teams in the Champions League. If Wolves were to finish 4th or 5th, and City don't have Champions League, you could still see United winning the Europa League. There are so many teams that could play European football next year, and you'd think that's only going to be good for the English league in terms of signings that are going to get made.
And don't forget Arsenal, because they're still in the FA Cup. Arsenal in the FA Cup, they get the Europa League spot if they win that too.
Yeah, but they're playing City in the FA Cup.
They're playing City.
Chelsea
but
Arsenal.
They're desperate. Anything good.
I don't know about that one.
Arsenal,
that's a stretch.
Arsenal are desperate for anything good to happen. I mean, they destroyed Norwich, but I don't know.
Norwich.
Exactly.
Do you guys think Leicester in 3rd place, only 1 point ahead of?
Leicester. They have been annoying me so much.
Do you think
it's a fitness question?
Do you think it's up to fitness?
I think the rest of the season's decided on fitness, to be honest. But I think Leicester, it really comes down to, can the players be fit? Vardy didn't look too great.
That's what I heard.
Me the other day.
He's been bad since Christmas. He scored 2 goals.
Yeah, he's definitely he's dropped because he was running super hot at the start of the season anyway.
That's a standard you can't really expect someone to be at.
Yeah, and I mean, but it's a question of that midfield and that defensive depth because James Justin has not been too good in comparison to Ricardo Pereira. As
How
anyone
long
could
is he
hardly
injured
be.
for? Do you know?
I have
He's
no
such
clue
an integral part.
because he's absolutely nuts.
And indeed, he didn't play that well in their last
But like
games.
even
which
then,
is
it's not solely down to injuries. It's like they've lost games to like Norwich. They've drew games they shouldn't have drawn. Like
But I mean, that's
have
down to the squad being disrupted, in my opinion. I think because it all started way back when they lost Wilfred and Beattie, just to injury, and then it's just been like the team hasn't been settled since then. And that's one of the advantages that Liverpool have had, and that's why I think they still need to make signings over the summer because you can't sit on the fact that your team is your perfect first team isn't going to be healthy through the course of the season.
That's why they're so good because of their squad.
But Leicester in free fall right now. They're just I don't
think Leicester will come top six
know.
next year. To be honest, I think they'll replace
next year. I don't
Wolves
know
or Sheffield.
If they can keep their squad together, they can.
I think if they can keep their squad together, they'll be in and about there. But also, like Jamie Vardy's only getting older, but the rest of their squad has a lot of young players, and I think there's several
Barnes, boy.
Exactly, who are only going to get better. I think Madison's only going to get better. Harvey Barnes is going to get better. Tielemans, I think Tielemans probably doesn't start the amount of games he should, but he is excellent.
Yep.
If they can keep Ben Chilwell, that's huge. If they can keep Soyuncu, which I think they will, that's huge. I just think they have an aging goalkeeper and an aging striker. And the rest of their
Schmeichel has a few years left in him.
I think they could make like one killer signing. That's the difference.
Exactly.
Like Leicester
one serious signing of intent from Leicester, and I think they're going to be in and about the top six again.
But a lot of the teams are like that right now. In that top six bracket right now, like who are like fighting out for these Champions League spots, they're all like one good summer or one bad summer away from like condemning themselves or you know what I mean? Like
Arsenal could certainly condemn themselves.
Yeah, if they sign Aubameyang to a long-term deal, then they've screwed themselves.
Why is that a bad thing?
Because
he thinks
it's the Ozil problem all over again. It's the forward of the wrong side of 30.
It's like when United got Falcao right after they got Van Persie. It's like what?
Aubameyang's good though. That's a difference.
But Aubameyang is their only sellable asset right now.
Yeah, exactly.
The squad can't build unless they sell Aubameyang. Like I'm hearing all these people saying you need to sign him to a long-term deal. I don't think you do. I think you want to sell him this summer.
Yeah, and it's not like he's a club legend or anything.
Because they see him as a club legend.
It'll be like the Ozil problem. It'll be like the Zaha problem. You've got like a player who's starting to get older on these long-term deals, massive wages, and then what? You're stuck. Because you can't. There's nothing you can do with the player.
But he's getting them like 20-something goals a season, though. Like he's the fastest Arsenal player.
That's the thing. Like it's the age thing. Like if
his
he was 27,
his game is incredibly pace reliant.
I would agree with you if he was 27 or younger.
His game is so pace reliant. Like I just don't think if you tie him down to a deal, he's going to produce the amount of goals
consistently
for much longer because he creates his own goals. Nobody really creates the goals for him. Everything goes through him in their attack. Other than Pepe showing up a couple times with assists, there's no creative contribution from their front line really. So like Lacazette is around the same age as Aubameyang, but to a European team, Aubameyang looks so much more attractive because he scores you 20 goals a season. He was excellent at Dortmund. He was excellent for Arsenal, but he is 30 years old. So like, could they just sell Aubameyang and really improve their team by making a couple?
I don't trust them to make good signings, though.
Maybe?
I don't trust Arsenal.
Exactly. I was just about to say I don't trust
I think they could be trusted to do it with Arteta, honestly.
I don't know if they have the draw.
Arteta has control.
It's passed around over the last 2 years who've made the signings, but I think I don't know. I think they sell him. There's a lot of players available. I think they'll have a sniff at Grealish. I don't think Grealish is the right option. I think still Emi Buendia would be the best option.
Definitely.
But I think they'll look. I think that if they sold Aubameyang, that would show that there's somebody in there who knows what they're doing, and that would suggest to me that they know that there are players out there who can fill out.
And do you think Lacazette would do better too without Aubameyang?
Yes.
Definitely.
Okay.
He's a soul
They
striker.
fill the same
I don't know if
spaces.
Arsenal
Also-
has that draw anymore though, because I don't really think they're going to be in any
They
European
don't need to.
competition
I don't
next
think
year.
you need to. You just
I'm
need
just-
to-
doesn't
you
need
just
to
need to be
drop.
better than the team that you're signing from.
I'm just waiting
And
for
be on the
Atletico
top of
Madrid
it.
to
Yeah.
overpay for Lacazette. That's all I'm waiting for.
Mhm.
But
It's gonna happen. at
also,
some point.
also, I feel like Pepe next season, like he could easily like emerge, he could easily have a big season because like he's one of those
He's-
players who could
15 goal
prove
contributions
himself.
this season isn't too bad, to be honest.
It's not too bad, but like he didn't have that good of a start. But I'm saying like next
Yeah.
season, because
Yeah.
I think like as the season goes on this season, he's like fitting more to the team. I think like next season he could like emerge and get like 20 goal contributions or something.
He fits Arteta much more than he fit.
Yeah, he could have.
No.
I think he'll have a big season next year.
Yeah. Pepe to me is so similar to Mahrez, and I think like yes, Mahrez is so much more effective in front of goal. Yes, like we can say that he was incredible for Leicester. Like he's great in front of goal, but like Mahrez is very, very good in a very, very good team. Whereas I think if the quality around Pepe increases and he gets a relationship with Bellerin down the right side, he could really flourish as a player. Because we've seen left-footed right side attackers do pretty well in the Premier League in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Bernardo Silva, Mahrez, so
Salah.
Salah. Exactly. How did I forget Salah? But yeah, but you catch my drift.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think that covers the Premier League for
Definitely.
now, for sure. So we'll see. There's 6 games left. There's everything to play for the top teams. Even the bottom ones are close. So now I think we have to move on to La Liga. It's just necessary.
Oh.
So it started off with Barca in a good position, we'll say, at the restart.
Yeah.
It's called a good position to win the title.
But before the restart, they were 2 points ahead of Real Madrid with the Clásico lost.
Yeah, and now we see Real playing right now. They're tied currently, but 2 points ahead
That's promising.
of Barca.
Still nil now.
And there's only 5 games left for La Liga. So I don't know. What are you guys thinking as far as the league?
Yeah, so I guess I'll start with like Barcelona, but I mean the Celta Vigo draw like that was obviously like just those games, like it's gonna be Villarreal away too. Like I just know now because it's happened for so many years. Like Barcelona they just don't get out with convincing wins. It's so rare, like away from home. When I saw it was 2-1, 88th minute, I was like very surprised. Then a minute later, when I turned on the TV, Aspas scores a free kick, and then after that, like, so the situation was they could still win the league if Real Madrid either drew 2 games and Barcelona won the rest, or if Real Madrid lost 1 game and Barcelona won the rest to win against Atletico Madrid. And that game was so bad. Like there's just so much like penalty drama. Like you can go on and argue about stuff, but just the quality of the game too. Like, Barcelona did not create that many chances. They weren't like they weren't good. I wouldn't say they were good. Like Messi was the only outlet in the attack that game. Like as always.
Game,
Griezmann played like 3 minutes or something.
He came on
crazy.
after the 90th minute.
Yeah, I mean if you count stoppage time, I guess he played for like 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Which is just like dumb. And I mean, I still think league's not over because right now, like this Real Madrid game could be a draw, but then, oh my god, but then Real Madrid have to lose or draw twice. It's so unlikely. But okay, you know what? Yeah, Real Madrid play away to Athletic Bilbao. They could draw points there. But like this is only if Barcelona win the rest of their games. And I just can't see them. Like before we started the podcast, I was saying, I think with Nick, like we're talking about if Barcelona will be Villarreal. There's literally no chance. I'll be so surprised.
I mean, they still have some favorable games. They have a game
the
against
rest of the
11th
fixtures are easy,
place, 15th place.
The rest of the fixtures should be easy. Like even away against Real Valladolid should be a win. Away to Alaves, like
the
rest of the
bottom of the league. Yeah,
it's just this last game. But if they drop points again, then like
then it might
Real
start to
Madrid can be
look like
so
Italy
comfortable.
in a way. Yeah.
Yeah.
As far as
Like,
Real though, Real is like you said.
They're with the 1 point clear. It's 71 to Madrid and 70 to Barcelona. With Madrid play today, so we'll see. They just look hungrier.
Yeah, they're getting better every game.
How best to say it, but I mean, watching both sides, how do I put this? Barcelona have been a team that have made the last 12 or so years, they've made their name with what we would think would be slow build-up. The tiki-taka is all about patience and slowly breaking down a side. But what they used to be able to do is change the pace of the attack on a dime. So it could be a slow build-up to into the final third, but when it came down to it, they would be incredibly quick about
I see what you're talking
scoring.
Like they'd make splitting passes and stuff.
Yeah, so it would happen, right? Like just like that.
And the fullbacks were so important too.
And the ability to change the pace of your attack is absolutely everything. And I think Real do that a lot better. I watch them now, and it's not the fact that like Barcelona are breaking philosophy or anything like that. It's just that they aren't quick in the way that they transition. They're not quick in the way that they
like this season
attack in the final third this season. And so
this season, you wanna?
Yeah. I was just gonna say, like Madrid, you watch them. Obviously, like they're more counterattacking based, but like generally when they get in the final third, they're just more decisive, and they're not poor defensively. They are good defensively.
They're very good defensively. So. I mean, Vinicius does waste chances sometimes in their attack, but like Benzema's obviously been on fire. Yeah. But yeah, with Barcelona, I want to say if you just take results aside, like Barcelona can still win Champions League and La Liga. Technically, I don't think they're going to win Champions League at all. Like I just don't see that. Oh, it's 5-0 Man City, by the way. All right. Mahrez scored. What was I trying to say? If you just take results aside, like even if Barcelona win La Liga. Like, if you just look at the performances actually played, and, like, if you watch the games, this is the worst Barcelona in such a long time, probably, like, since the beginning of the century. They've just been, like, so – like even in, like, the 2016-17 season, where we only won the Copa del Rey, it was still an entertaining team to watch, I feel like. Yeah. Like, also with, like, Neymar and stuff. But, like, just the quality of it – like, they're so Messi dependent right now. Just it's incredible how dependent Barcelona is on Messi.
What about the season that they didn't win any trophies? Which season was
2013 I didn't actually start watching Barcelona.
They were still better.
They were still very good there, and it was actually just unlucky.
They had 90 points.
Oh yeah, they lost to Atletico in the last day, and they got knocked out of Champions League.
And honestly, that was one of the most exciting La Liga seasons.
That's crazy.
To be honest. I actually thoroughly enjoyed watching that season, but the thing is, I don't enjoy watching it now. And I feel like that's kind of like a problem because you have arguably like the greatest player of all time, and
it's a waste. They're wasting his years.
It's not exciting to watch, and that's just a general problem like with the club. But I mean, I could go on and on for hours about how destructive the club is right now. I'll just keep my mouth shut.
The Arthur deal as well. That doesn't look that bad right now. That doesn't look that bad because Ricky Puig looks amazing.
He looks like a decent player, but I think that's just youthful energy, and we'll see how it comes out over the course of next season, whether or not he A, keeps his place in the side, and B, can play well.
But that's like a huge confidence boost for Setien to start him against Atletico.
Minutes at a young age is everything. Like you look across Europe, you look at like we were talking about Mason Greenwood earlier. It doesn't matter how many goals he scores this season. Obviously, it's great that he is scoring goals. What matters is the fact that he's getting minutes at a young age.
Yeah, like Angel Gomez had to leave because he just wasn't getting any minutes.
So when you're 18, 19, 20, and you're getting consistent minutes at a big side, that can be everything. That can be the difference long term. So. I don't know. Maybe there's some positives. There don't seem to be many right now in terms of age, the profile of the squad.
The oldest team in La Liga. Yeah, the oldest team in Europe, I think, actually, based on average age. So many players above 30.
Yikes.
Like in a few years, the team will need an overhaul.
I just think going back to what Nick was saying about hunger, like, do the players look hungry? So many of the players in that Barcelona team have seen success, seen incredible highs. Whereas if you look at Real Madrid's actual squad that they put out for most match days, a lot of those players, other than Cruz, Modric, Ramos, Varane, Benzema, and Carvajal, of the players who end up getting on the field, all the rest of those players want success. They want their own success now. They're young enough where they weren't in the squad for any of those Champions League wins, except for maybe Asensio. Asensio was in the 16-17 squad as early as that, I think. You're looking at Valverde was not in any of those squads.
Mm-hmm.
You have Vinicius Jr. was in none of those squads. You have Rodrigo, Jovic, Mendy. These are players who want to build their own success. Odegaard will want to come into that team and build his own success there. There's so much room for that team to get better by younger players coming in. That's what I think Barcelona needs to get back to.
Yeah.
Because
what do you guys think
that's what made Barcelona elite. They had players within their own system, or players who used to be a part of their system who they could sign back to be a Barcelona player again, who made their team excellent. And it's been a while since they've been able to do that.
What were you going to say, Nick?
The sale of Achraf Hakimi, though, because that
Hakimi to Inter.
I mean, that's just
that was finalized today.
Yeah.
How much was it? 44 million.
40
He's the
million.
most expensive Moroccan ever, ahead of Hakim Ziyech. It's by like literally $1 million between him and Ziyech.
Ziyech was a bargain too, because I think he had like a year left on his contract.
It's an incredible signing for Inter, and it's a move that makes absolutely no sense for Real Madrid. Real Madrid, however, it's fair to point out, Mendy is probably the most two-footed fullback I've ever seen in my life.
He could play right back.
He's incredible on both feet, and Alvaro Adriozola is only on loan at Bayern Munich.
Yeah.
So they actually have two young players there.
They had so much fullback depth. I mean, they still have Reguilon out on loan. Hopefully he moves.
Exactly. He's only on loan at Sevilla, and he was probably the best left back in La Liga this year.
Yeah.
And he's only on loan.
Yeah.
Real Madrid, to me,
I don't know.
their loan army is so strong. Yeah, I think Real Madrid's loan army is so strong that players coming back are like new signings for them. They're going to improve the quality of their squad. Barcelona, to me, have better quality individually in positions, but I don't know how well their team gels as a unit. Griezmann is a much better attacker on paper than Marco Asensio, but Marco Asensio has chemistry with Benzema. He has chemistry with Toni Kroos. So, like,
Griezmann has chemistry with
yeah. I just think, like, it's a strange thing right now for Barcelona to have a new coach this season who I thought would really change their style and, like, make them play a more attractive game.
I thought too. Yeah.
He brings in Junior Firpo, who was his player last season, and I thought Junior Firpo would come into that team, lower the age of the back line, and be Setien's player, and he hasn't done that. That's what confuses me about that team.
It's poor squad building. Firpo is actually a decent signing. It didn't make sense because they had Cucurella, who is actually quite decent, and I hope he comes back. But yeah, there's just generally poor squad building going on. I mean, on the other hand of things, you look at a little bit further down the table. I mean, there's still. It looks like the Champions League places might be sewn up, which kind of stinks because I was really hoping that Getafe might actually do something.
Dude,
Getafe are drawing with Real Madrid right now.
Yeah, exactly.
What are their last ball is my favorite thing ever because it's scrappy. They some of their matches, the ball is in play for less than 40 minutes. It's terrible to watch, and they somehow have scraped into the top 6. So shout out.
But I want to say Getafe after its restart and Real Sociedad have been terrible. Like they've dropped so many. Getafe last 6 games, 1 win, 4 draws, 1 loss.
Wow.
Real Sociedad 4 losses, 1 win, 1 draw. Like base previous like points per game average or just in general form, they've been very bad. But I mean, they could still get a few more wins. But yeah, Getafe will probably get Europa League again. And speaking of Europa League, they could go far in that because like they beat Ajax.
They're just so hard to beat. They're just a nuisance.
Hence why Real Madrid have not been able to score, and it's the 55th minute right now.
This is gonna be interesting.
I love Getafe.
I mean, Getafe to me, like I think the reason they've probably been poor is because if they rely on winning games by tiring out opponents, by defending so hard and hurting players and doing that, if everyone is tired because you're coming back such a long break, your strategy starts to not make very much sense. But they've had a couple games to arrest how bad they've been, and now they're drawing against Real Madrid. I wouldn't leave it out of the question, though, for Madrid to get a penalty or something silly.
But they won their last game against Real Sociedad. Like, they're picking up some momentum, I guess.
Exactly.
And, like, they drew the last 3 games, which is, I mean, like, at least
they're still in the Europa League.
Losing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're still in Europa League, which is good. And also, like, considering Real Sociedad, they had a chance to get in the Champions League, but now it's, like, basically like done and dusted because they're, like, 9 points behind. Oh, that makes Odegaard, like, that would make him want to go back to Real Madrid even more, I feel like. But
hopefully he gets money.
Speaking of top 4 race, Villarreal, they were, like, 9th or 8th or something a few weeks ago. They've been catching up high.
They got their act together.
And if they get that win,
to watch, honestly, I like watching them.
If they get that win against Barcelona too, that'll be huge.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's not out of the question. So
they could catch Sevilla. That's what they have to catch. Atletico are probably like too far ahead.
They are catchable. They are actually, I like.
I mean, they have 4 draws in a row.
I know, but there's always a chance they can turn around. Lopetegui's actually a good manager.
Yeah, but can we say it's between them for the last Champions League spot?
I would think so. I don't think Getafe are gonna really like surprise and come out of it.
I mean, do you remember Setien was the manager? Do you remember Real Madrid versus Real Betis when they won 1-0 with a last-minute goal from like Antonio Sanabria? Yeah, like they defended for 90 minutes, got a last-minute goal. That could happen right now. This game,
but it's hard to see it happen. I don't know. I'm
saying if it does, like obviously.
That would be how Getafe takes.
Then they'd be 2 points behind Sevilla. That means like they're back in the race.
Yeah. Speaking about Champions League too, I was looking. Sevilla still has Roma to play. Both ties apparently. Both ties need to be played.
Oh, that's interesting.
It'll probably be
in
a
the Europa League.
Europa League. So do you guys think they could beat Roma and move on in the Europa League? Because right now,
they have as much chance as any team to win it these days. Just because of how much of a mess it is, really any team could win it on any given day.
They definitely could beat Roma for sure. And Getafe has Inter.
Roma are not good.
Getafe has Inter, and I don't think they have.
You can even argue like Wolves have a chance to win it. Yeah,
you could argue Wolves have a chance to win it because they're hard to beat. That's really what.
Yeah, the favorites. I mean, the only really, like you said, good teams left are United, Wolves. I probably put Inter to beat Getafe. They still have to.
Wolves are not the top teams though. Wolves aren't one of the top. Inter would be higher.
Yeah, just as far as
on paper,
semifinals even. Yeah, and then Sevilla versus Roma still has to be played. There's Shakhtar Donetsk has a.
Are there any Champions League dropouts in the? Still
Inter was the one day because they had and I'm not sure who else, but Bayern Leverkusen.
I feel like there's probably one more we're missing.
None of the major ones.
Yeah, there's not too many. Like
Ajax is gone.
Yeah,
it's
like Basel. It's like Basel.
Oh,
and
Bayern Leverkusen.
Yeah, that's what I said. Yeah,
Leverkusen.
Leverkusen
hopefully got it this summer. Yeah, so that's La Liga.
I guess maybe there's not much to say about it.
We can go into probably Serie A now. Yeah, Serie A because Bundesliga is done.
Serie A. There's not much you can say. Serie A.
I mean, we could say Lazio. Lazio are the king of comebacks. They've gotten so many wins from comebacks this season.
Yeah.
Atalanta did it to them obviously when they were up 2-0, which was a big blow. But Atalanta, like they're probably the best team in the world right now, honestly. Like,
yes, that could have been a dagger.
That's a
game.
Big call. That's a
biggest
call.
team in the world. You said.
Okay, fine.
They're the most exciting and the best attacking side in the world. I'll give you that.
All right, yeah, their defense is not the best, but they have the longest win streak currently right now in top 5 European leagues. That's objective. That's a fact. And like, what can I say? Yeah, I don't know if we said it on air, but I don't know. I'll just say it again though. But Atalanta versus Juventus and Juventus versus Lazio. These are the 2 games that will decide the title because Atalanta can easily take points off Juve, and then Lazio versus Juventus. Juventus playing at home. I think they're most likely going to win that. But as I said before, like at least that's in Lazio, who's a direct competitor. At least it's in their hands. So if they lose that, they can't complain of it's basically a final. It's a final.
It's a 4-point gap with I mean, what is it? Nine or so.
9 games too, though.
9
Lazio can
games.
easily drop points in a few of them. So I'd say right now it's like 90% chance or 80% chance Juventus win. Like it will just take one more loss for Lazio to like lose their for their wheels to go out. If that makes sense.
You can't lose
But
any games.
I think the top 4 is sewn up though. There's like this what a 12-point gap now between Atalanta and
Top
Roma.
4's done. Top 4's done.
Yeah, top 4, like we know who's in there. It's can
Yeah.
Lazio overcome that 4-point gap, which there are, like you said, chances to do that.
Most likely not. I'd say that, but it's still there. Like
Yeah.
Milan also, since the break,
beat
they've
Roma.
surprisingly been very good. They got 2 wins and a draw. But yeah, Napoli have been amazing, so amazing. Like, especially compared to how they were early in the season, and it took Atalanta to beat them, which finally ended their streak.
They found their feet under Gattuso, which
Yeah,
Gattuso isn't terrible. He's nothing special as far as coaching is concerned.
but they've improved so much from the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
I don't know what they had at the beginning. They had Ancelotti, I think.
Ancelotti, yeah.
Yeah, Ancelotti. They've improved so much. So now it's a 3-way race. Roma are losing to Udinese right now, which would be a big L.
Wow.
But it's a three-way race for Europa League, probably between Roma, Napoli, and Milan, and like maybe Verona. No, whatever. I'd say it's a 3-way race between them. And Milan.
Hellas Verona are a very good side.
Yeah,
They're a very good
to
side.
point that out.
Just gonna point it out. Just gonna point it out.
Give the shout
Like
out.
Roma have
Didn't they
been
beat Juventus?
pretty bad,
Didn't Verona
and
beat Juventus?
AC Milan they did, and
They did. Yeah.
AC Milan and Roma haven't been like amazing. Like it's
No,
not outside the
no.
realm of possibility. It's not
Yeah.
outside the realm of possibility for Hellas Verona to sneak in with a squad that has basically no notable names aside from like they have Miguel
Pazzini.
Veloso, who some
We
people who
love
like
Miguel Veloso.
no.
Don't
But
they
other
have-
than that,
Decent midfielder.
no. I mean they have
an
some.
old guy. They have Pazzini. Don't they have Gianpaolo Pazzini? He's like a.
He's
Law-
dropped off a cliff, man.
I know, but like,
Yeah.
like he's notable. Like
It's
people
not-
know
it's
his
not
name.
13.
They have such a strong defense. They're almost like Getafe. Like their defense is so strong, and a lot of that is due to Gunter, Kurai Gunter, but also Marash Kumbula is linked to he's linked to PSG. He's linked to Juventus. Kumbula has he's been a huge
Speaking.
player for them. Just like a 20-year-old stepping up and being as impressive as he has been. Nobody expected Hellas Verona to be 8th.
Yeah.
Nobody.
No.
They've been very good.
The
But
fact that they've usurped
speaking-
Cagliari is actually
Exactly.
the shocker because Cagliari
Who have-
started like
Who have Joao Pedro,
madmen,
who's
and now they've
been
like,
insane.
Yeah,
You know, Hellas Verona
Roger
don't have a
Knight,
Joao Pedro, but they have an excellent defense, and that's why they're in 8th.
And speaking of like Serie A talents, I feel like Rigo De Paul could he just smashes like stats all over the board for like anything you look at. He could be like a big like a low key signing, kind of like a big Premier League team. Like what I'm saying is like he's a player scouts will want to look out for. Rodrigo De Paul. He got 2 assists right now against Roma.
I don't know. I actually don't know about that one because it's really hard to pinpoint where he's best. Is he an attacking midfielder? Is he a central midfielder? Is it in the?
I'm saying like, it'll be exciting, like
Or
even
is it
like a
centered
mid-table
forward?
Premier League club.
Yeah, it's. I think. I mean, mid-table is probably where he belongs. It's weird because a lot of the chances that he's created, have come from at least last season they were coming from a lot of set pieces, and stuff. So it was really difficult to pinpoint exactly how good he was. A lot of his numbers seemed massively inflated by various factors.
His
But I
numbers
think he's a
jumped this
decent
year.
player. Yeah, I think he's a decent player. If you were to, I just don't think he's as good as people were saying he was 6 months ago, and before that. I would take him at a lot of sides, but is he gonna really boost a lot of sides? Really take it to the next level? It's hard to say because you just don't know. It's really difficult because he's so hot and cold sometimes.
Well,
Yeah.
about Serie A, is there anything else we need to talk about?
No,
Or
I
is
mean,
that
I just
like-
noticed Hellas Verona's schedule still has Inter, Lazio, Atalanta, and Fiorentina
Oh,
and
shoot.
Roma. So they really have some tough ones.
Okay, so they're gone.
It doesn't look 100% great for them.
No.
They have some tough games, but Yeah, I mean that league isn't necessarily locked up yet. You guys still think Lazio has a chance, like you said.
Yeah.
In your hands a little.
I guess to wrap up like the episode, you guys remember? Do you guys know when the MLS Cup is? That's
Yeah,
outside.
Rob said he wants to do an MLS podcast thing. I think it's coming up maybe July 9th. Or it's like the first
July 9th.
So we'll see. It's coming up soon. We'll talk about that for sure next time. They already have some problems, I've heard. So
Of course they do. It's sports in America.
yeah, as you soccer in America, football in America. Football.
I want to watch this.
We haven't even talked about Andre Kramaric.
Oh my God! Go give you a shout out, dude. Seth got his Hellas Corona shout out. So
my new boy.
Actually, I have a shout out after you're done. Go on. Give him a shout out.
Okay, well he scored 4 against Dortmund and saved us from seeing Wolfsburg in Europe again.
Oh my God, man!
Yeah.
I'm so happy because Hoffenheim were not necessarily good with Nagelsmann, like decent.
What do you have against Wolfsburg?
Yeah, something against
4 goals. Come on, against Dortmund. I mean, we know Dortmund isn't the best defensive side, but come on.
That was insane to see. Yeah,
That's great. And
top class penalty.
The top four got wrapped up. Pity Leverkusen couldn't do it because I actually like watching Leverkusen.
And nobody likes watching Wolfsburg.
No one likes. No, I don't. I genuinely don't.
They're not good to watch. They're really bad to watch.
They're scrappy. Renato Stefan is probably the only player I like. And him and Josip.
Wout Weghorst, 6'5" penalty merchant.
No, I like Schlager, Stefan, and Brekalo, and that's about it because they're actually players who are.
What about Mbabu though? Mbabu's nice. Right?
Mbabu's decent, but he's not as good as people make him out to be.
Physically, I guess physically.
Yeah,
is
but
good, fast,
as far as defensive contributions, you'd probably take William outside first.
He's never made the step up that was expected of him when he was younger. When he was at Newcastle, people expected him to be really good because he was physically so powerful. But he hasn't really stepped up to be a very effective right back.
Mm-hmm.
But Marcus, what's your shout out?
I know. If Nick got his, I have to get mine. I would like to shout out Alain Saint-Maximin on Newcastle with 3 assists. 3 insane. Well, 2 of them were all right. One of them was to Almiron, who got a goal against Bournemouth. Bournemouth looks down and out, by the way, resigned.
They're terrible.
Yeah, they're good. They're gone. United will win that game Saturday. But Saint-Maximin with 3 assists, he's taking on all players. I love watching players like him because I feel like you don't see them too much in the Prem. Players that used to just go right at a defender every time and genuinely make them scared. That's what everyone likes Traore for as well. So Saint-Maximin with his Gucci headband. he's doing great.
Ryan Fraser is a smart man for
I guess, yeah,
but he's not going to get the movie. He thinks he's going to go to Arsenal. He's convinced.
No, he'll try to sneak his way up to Crystal Palace. And
I'm just saying, Everton could do a lot worse than Ryan Fraser.
I actually think he would go to
Everton.
I think they'll take him. Honestly, I think that it will happen. And I think
do they need wingers? They have Walcott and Lennon still.
All their
all
their qualities through the middle. All of their qualities through the middle.
Walcott's
they
need
need wide players across the pitch,
and decent central defensive midfielders.
Yeah.
Baumann, once he comes back, hopefully he'll actually.
Yeah, hopefully Baumann will finally be fit, and we can actually see how good of a player he is.
Because we don't know. No one knows.
Nobody knows.
Anyone else have any shout out? Amir, you're the only one without a shout out. Shout out
to
Rob Fernandez.
Yeah.
No,
Carrasco for a great dive. Anything like that?
Let me think.
Shout out VAR. You could shout out VAR.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me think of
VAR. Oh my God.
Shout out VAR.
Shout out to shout out to Ricky Pooch for showing some promise. Showing some promise for La Masia.
Oh my God. There you go. All right, well, that wraps up episode 8.
VAR match.
And VAR. That wraps up episode 8. We'll be back with probably the MLS podcast next. every league is still coming to a close. When are the leagues supposed to end, by the way? Like
mid-July.
Mid-July?
Mid to late July.
Wow. And maybe Italy might take even a little longer.
Yeah.
We'll see. So there's summer soccer all year, it seems like.
Yeah.
So thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and like. Massive down below. Everyone, please do the down below.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time.